Wait, don't answer yet. There's something humming behind your ribs, and I want to hear it before you try to hide it again. Good. There it is. That frequency you pretend you don't feel. The one that makes entire agencies lose their posture when your name comes up on a monitor. Because tell me, how does someone like you pull off a maneuver the world's intelligence networks haven't even classified yet? How do you execute something that doesn't exist until you do it? You know the answer. You've always known. You just never said it out loud because deep down, you understood. Once you name what you are, the world stops pretending it can contain you. See, they spent decades building playbooks, protocols, behavioral models, simulations, endless algorithms trained on billions of human decisions, a universe of data meant to predict every move except the one you made. And then you walked in with no briefing, no manual, no clearance badge. And you performed something so precise, so ghost-level untraceable, that the agencies had to invent a term for it after you were already gone. Do you understand how insane that is? People commit entire lifetimes trying to crack the top layer of those systems. You strolled past the firewall like it was a broken revolving door. You bent reality like it was paper soaked in gasoline. You didn't just break their model. You forced them to rewrite the laws that model was built on. And here's what terrifies them most. You didn't do it with rage. You didn't do it with power. You didn't do it with chaos. You did it with clarity. A clarity born in the darkest room of your life. The room they thought would break you. The room with no windows, no witnesses, no mercy. The room where your innocence died and your perception sharpened into a weapon. You know the one. And while they thought you were dissolving under pressure, you were actually mutating. Softness turning into precision, fear liquefying into calculation, pain crystallizing into a new kind of intelligence entirely. Not the intelligence you study, the intelligence you become. Do you hear me? You didn't learn that maneuver. You evolved into it. And that's why they can't replicate it. That's why their analysts keep running in circles, rewinding footage frame by frame, zooming in like the truth is hiding in pixels, when the truth is hiding in you. Because here's the paradox that's killing them slowly. You're predictable only to yourself. Everyone else is forecasting a storm using models meant for rain. They don't understand the duality in you. The saint that forgives and the psychopath that never forgets. The angel who watches quietly and the demon who acts with surgical accuracy the moment the world underestimates you. They don't understand how someone who bleeds can still move like someone who has nothing left to lose. How someone who was shattered once can now walk like the pieces were arranged into a weapon. They don't understand that evolution isn't gentle. Sometimes it looks like madness wearing clarity as a mask. Listen closely. You didn't perform a classified maneuver. You performed your nature, a nature sharpened by betrayal, a nature sculpted by nights nobody saw, a nature trained by silence, not applause, a nature born in the dark but engineered for the spotlight of consequence. No agency can name that. No manual can teach that. No classification can contain that. And deep inside, you know the truth they're choking on. You didn't beat their system. You revealed that it was never built to handle someone like you. That's why they're panicking quietly. That's why meetings are being held behind doors with no handles. That's why the analysts keep asking the same trembling question. How did he do it before we even defined it? Simple. Because you are not operating on their timeline. You're operating on the one carved into your bones. The timeline where your past forged a creature that reacts faster than fear, faster than logic, faster than their entire chain of command. You're not ahead of them, you're outside them. And once you move outside the system becomes predictable, breakable, laughable. So let them study you. Let them panic. Let them chase the footprints you didn't leave. Because the moment they think they're catching up, you'll already be rewriting the next maneuver, the one they'll spend the next decade trying to understand, while you're already on to something even more impossible. Now tell me, are you ready for them to finally realize you were never the one being monitored? You were the one monitoring them. Ah, there it is again. That shift in the air when the truth gets too close to your skin. Don't flinch now. This is the part they were never meant to hear. Because when you executed that maneuver, that unnameable, untrackable, unthinkable move, you didn't just outsmart their system. You exposed the limits of their imagination. And nothing terrifies powerful men more than realizing their imagination is smaller than your instinct. Do you know how humiliating that is for them? Entire rooms full of analysts, experts who've memorized the patterns of nations, who've studied coup attempts, psychological warfare, cyber sequences, insurgency triggers, all sitting there with their hands over their mouths like children who just saw a ghost crawl out of their algorithm. They're replaying it endlessly. Your maneuver, your timing, your silence. Especially the silence. Because you didn't announce it. You didn't plan it on a whiteboard. You didn't hint at it. You didn't smirk. You just acted. And the world's greatest predictive systems registered nothing but static. That's what breaks them. You didn't give off fear. You didn't give off anger. You didn't even give off intent. You gave off nothing, and nothing is the one signal their systems were never designed to interpret. It means you don't move like a human reacting to the world. You move like the world reacting to you. But let's go deeper, because I know you feel that itch under your skin. The one that flickers when a piece of your truth gets too close to waking. You weren't always this precise. You weren't always this sharp. No, once upon a time, you were predictable, soft, naive enough to believe people meant what they said, naive enough to think loyalty was symmetrical, naive enough to believe the world would reward your goodness, and then life, with its cold hands and cruel education, introduced you to the real curriculum. People took advantage, people lied, people left, people watched you burn and didn't even blink. But that's where the mutation started, in the ashes of who you used to be. Pain did what universities couldn't. Betrayal did what textbooks never would. Loneliness did what mentors refused to. Silence did what millions of words failed to. It taught you the architecture of human weakness. It taught you how to read patterns that others can't. How to sense tension in a room before a single word is spoken. How to identify lies by the temperature of someone's breathing. How to see motives forming in real time. How to catch intentions long before behavior exposes them. They call it intuition. They call it sensitivity. They call it paranoia. They're wrong. It's evolution, the kind of evolution that only happens when someone has been dismantled and rebuilt from the shadows up. The kind that only happens when someone has learned the anatomy of manipulation, not from books, but from survival. So when they saw your maneuver, that impossible move, they assumed it must have been strategy. They assumed you planned it, rehearsed it, calculated the variables, cross-referenced scenarios. But no, you didn't strategize. You recognized, you perceived, you acted. They can't understand that your mind is not a place where decisions are made. Your mind is a place where outcomes are seen before they exist. And that is the detail they cannot write into any manual. That is the variable their models cannot simulate. That is the factor their predictive systems cannot quantify. Because how do you measure instinct forged through suffering? How do you model intuition carved by betrayal? How do you analyze someone who's been broken enough times to become unbreakable? You can't. That's why they're scared of you, not because you executed something classified, but because you executed something they didn't even know was possible. And here's the cosmic joke they don't want to admit. You didn't beat them with intelligence. You beat them with awareness. The kind of awareness that turns every breath into reconnaissance, every glance into analysis, every silence into a trap, every wound into a blueprint. And that awareness is something no agency, no military, no empire can reproduce, because it requires the one ingredient none of them are willing to endure: pain. So yes, they're terrified. They're terrified because you move like someone who has nothing left to prove. They're terrified because you read reality like it's a script you wrote years ago. They're terrified because your unpredictability isn't chaos, it's mastery. A mastery born in the dark, forged in the cracks of your old self, tempered by a past they don't know how to classify. And the funniest part, they still think they're studying you. They still think you're the anomaly they're trying to decode. Meanwhile, you've already mapped out their next 10 moves. You've already dissected their reactions. You've already predicted their panic. You've already anticipated their countermeasures. They're not studying you. You're rehearsing them. Tell me, are you starting to feel it now? That shift, that awakening, that quiet, dangerous realization that you're not just ahead of the world. You are the variable the world never designed for. And once someone becomes a variable, they stop playing by the rules. They start rewriting them, so go on. Let them panic. Let them analyze. Let them name your maneuver. Because the moment they do, you'll already be preparing the next one. The one they'll spend the rest of their lives trying to understand. Oh, there it is. That pulse again. That low, electric thrum crawling up your spine. You feel it, don't you? The part of you that's waking up, stretching, remembering what it truly is, good. Because we're not done, not even close. You see, the agencies, the ones who swear they run the world from glass towers and underground bunkers, they have a secret terror they don't put in reports. They can't predict someone who has died before and kept walking, not literally. No, something far more unsettling. You died emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, and when you came back, you weren't built on human logic anymore. You were built on pattern, on quiet, on pain, alchemized into perception so sharp it cuts through illusions like wire. They don't know how to classify someone who has walked through hell and came back with enhanced senses. Someone who hears the intention behind a sentence. Someone who feels the shift in the room before the air even moves. Someone who sees the ending of a conversation before the first word leaves their lips. Understand this. Your maneuver wasn't just fast. It wasn't just clever. It wasn't just ahead. It was post-human in structure. Because while they were running simulations, you were running real-time truth. While they were calculating probabilities, you were calculating souls. While they were checking angles, you were checking motives. While they were reading data, you were reading people. And people are the real battlefield. That's why they fear you. They can encrypt information, but they can't encrypt intention. And you read intention like a surgeon reading X-rays. That's what allowed you to execute the maneuver before they even conceived the concept. That's what let you move in a way their systems literally could not model. That's what forced them to create a brand new category of behavior just to explain a single breath you took. Because here's a truth the dark rooms never admit. No system can outmaneuver someone who has mastered their own darkness. You did that years ago, in silence, in pain, in nights where your chest cracked open quietly and no one checked on you. You didn't go insane. You went inward, and what you found in there? Not chaos, not fragility, not weakness. You found a second operating system, one that runs beneath emotion, beneath thought, beneath fear. A system built on observation, on instinct sharpened to a blade, on patterns too subtle for ordinary minds to feel. They think you guessed, they think you gambled, they think you acted on impulse, but the truth? You saw the outcome before the moment even existed. You didn't react, you recognized. Because you, my friend, are the paradox that intelligence agencies never accounted for. A wounded mind with a predator's clarity, a gentle heart with a killer's precision, an angel's patience fused with a demon's pattern recognition. Duality made you dangerous, pain made you sharp, loneliness made you fast, silence made you surgical. And now they're choking on a question no one wants to voice. What happens when he realizes exactly how powerful he is? Oh, they're trembling over that one. Because right now, you're still moving instinctively, quietly, effortlessly, naturally. But imagine what happens when you stop holding back, when you stop doubting your perception, when you stop shrinking your instincts to make others comfortable, when you stop pretending to be anything less than a walking anomaly. Imagine when you start using the full range of what you see, what you sense, what you feel, what you dissect without even trying. Do you know what that becomes? Not a threat, not a weapon, not a maneuver, a phenomenon, and that's what they're terrified to admit. Because you're not competing, you're not fighting, you're not racing, you're revealing their blind spots, revealing their fragility, revealing their arrogance, revealing their dependence on systems you bypass with intuition alone. You want to know the real classified detail? Here it is. Your maneuver wasn't extraordinary. It was your baseline, your normal, your default mode, your natural state of perception when you aren't suppressing yourself to fit inside a world too small to hold you. And that is the crisis they're having behind closed doors. Not that you executed the maneuver, but that you didn't even notice you were doing something impossible. So let me ask you something dangerous. If that was you, acting unconsciously, unintentionally, instinctively, what happens when you act on purpose? What happens when you decide to step fully into the identity they're trying to decode? What happens when you start making moves not from pain, but from power? I'll tell you what happens. Entire agencies recalibrate. Cities shift. Networks tremble. People rethink their loyalties, and the world for the first time starts responding to you instead of the other way around. So breathe, feel that crackle under your ribs. That's not fear, that's awakening, and trust me, we haven't even touched the deepest layer yet. Good, you're still here, because this final layer, the one they never wanted you to reach, is where everything snaps into focus. See, for all their models, all their simulations, all their classified lexicons and black budget programs, none of them have language for a human being who stops apologizing for their evolution. And that's what you are, aren't you? An evolution they didn't authorize, a phenomenon they didn't forecast, A maneuver they didn't design a countermeasure for. Let me tell you a secret wrapped in a truth, wrapped in a warning. Your existence is already rewriting rule books. Not because you rebel, not because you're chaotic, not because you're dangerous, but because you see. You see what they overlook. You sense what they deny. You anticipate what they haven't even recognized as a threat yet. And the terrifying part, you do it without trying. That's why they panicked. That's why they whispered your name like it was an event, not a person. That's why they scraped together committees, analysts, and specialists to decode a maneuver you didn't even label as a maneuver. It wasn't a trick. It wasn't a tactic. It wasn't a stunt. It was your instinct crystallizing in real time. And now they're living in a world where you exist, and that world behaves differently. Because the truth is simple. You were never predictable. You were only underestimated once, never again. And that's what they fear most. That you finally understand what you are. A storm disguised as a survivor. A strategist disguised as a mistake. A paradox disguised as a person. A phenomenon disguised as a heartbeat. But all storms end with clarity. All awakenings end with recognition. And all journeys, even yours, eventually reach a moment where the truth stands naked in the room. Here it is. You didn't perform a classified maneuver before the agencies named it. You performed something they weren't intelligent enough to imagine. And from this point forward, they won't try to predict you. They'll monitor, they'll observe, they'll react, they'll scramble, but deep down, they'll know. They're not dealing with a rogue element, they're dealing with an upgraded species. So walk forward, calm, certain, silent. Not because you're hiding, but because you've already moved beyond the horizon where they can follow. And that, my friend, is the most classified truth of all.